A Saturday doubleheader in the National Football League. Again, what a football day you have in store on Saturday. If you just like the sport, you're a fan of sports in general, you don't really need to choose between college football and the NFL. If you're a CFP purist, maybe you're upset the NFL is encroaching on the first ever tripleheader day of the 12-team college football playoff era. But maybe you're just like, hey, it's a Saturday around the holidays. I've got nothing going on. It's freezing outside. I'm going to sit my behind on a couch all day and watch so much football and make some winning bets as well. It starts at noon Eastern time in State College with our first of 3 CFP games between Penn State and SMU. Then we go quickly at 1 p.m. Eastern time DRS to Kansas City, where the Chiefs will host the Houston Texans. And the question still remains, I guess, will it be Patrick Mahomes or Carson Wentz for a pivotal Week 16 game between KC and Houston? Now, the Texans can improve their seeding, I guess, within the AFC playoff picture, but Houston seems right now pretty firmly into the 4 spot as Houston has clinched a second consecutive AFC South championship last week with a win against Miami off the bye and a Colts loss in Denver. The Chiefs, DRS, need to win 2 of their final 3 to hold on to that 1 seed within the AFC. So, helping them do so, who is starting at quarterback on Saturday? Patrick Mahomes or Carson Wentz?
Oh, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. If Mahomes didn't play this week, then they might have been saying to themselves, if this is a true high ankle sprain, it hurts him. We really need the guy, but let's skip this game at home because we're going to need him more healthy for that Christmas Day game, which you're going to play at Pittsburgh. Doesn't look like that's the case here. Looks like he's healthy enough to go, but also there is chance for re-injury here, Ben. There's a chance that this, ankle never heals up appropriately over the next 3 weeks that they're going to play. And also, you are not playing in Kansas City in September on nice soft surfaces here at 80 degrees, and you can get real loose and limber. You're talking about, once again, sub-freezing conditions in Kansas City where if you're in the pocket, you better protect him. And those 2 tackles haven't done that good a job this year in protecting him where he's going to be on an island. And the question always is, not for the football player, can he hurt himself? It's can he protect himself? You say, well, what do you mean a quarterback protecting himself? Well, if you can't get in and out of the pocket and slide one way or another to avoid the pass rush, you can get not only an ankle injury, a knee injury, a hip injury, a back injury, an arm injury, just by taking so many shots. That's what I'm going to be watching for this game. So for me, he is going to be playing quarterback. I do think they beat Houston. Now, there is something to be said about this, Ben. Yes, Kansas City, the pressure technically is on them. They have to win to keep that number 1 seed alive, which I do believe they get. From a Houston perspective, I don't think they're going to be able to move up any more than they already are as a champion of their division, which means they'll get a home playoff game. But we're too far removed from them to be in celebration mode. Let's cruise for the next 3 weeks and then flip the switch once we get into the playoffs. They're going to be up for this game at Kansas City, but still a short work week here. For me, it's going to be Kansas City that's going to win this football game, probably in a lower scoring game. But the interesting part is, if you're looking from a prop perspective in this game, for me, it's not so much the passing yards of Patrick Mahomes, the quick passes, the Xavier Worthy rocket screens to the outside, Kelsey over the middle, reinvigorated now that he knows I got 3 seconds to get open because we can't leave my quarterback in the pocket. Those are the plays I'm looking for, but I do think Kansas City, as long as Mahomes is in, Ben, they win this game.
DRS, there was a part of me that if Carson Wentz was going to start, as Casey was booked as a home dog, where I actually would have been like, give me the Chiefs outright. Yeah. Total on its way back up to 41 and a hook. I actually think that hook in terms of the spread might be crucial. Houston this year, 9-5 straight up, a favorite in 11 of 14 games, 4-5-2 against the spread. But as a dog with Stroud as the starter, 9-5 against the number. I think it's close and low scoring. Let's get to a huge rivalry renewed in our second NFL game on Saturday in Baltimore. The Ravens, 6.5-point home favorite against the Steelers. 45 and a hook is that total. DRS, how do you see it on Saturday in the Charm City?
How healthy is TJ Watt? How healthy is George Pickens? I'm not even saying that Pittsburgh would even win the game with both of those guys completely healthy, but they can hang around. The MO of these two teams getting after it in cold weather is it's going to be hard hitting, lower scoring, and close to the vest on both sides. But if I'm looking at this game now after what I saw out of Pittsburgh, who had a slugfest against the Philadelphia Eagles when the Ravens had a layup against the Giants, the fresher team coming into this game is the Baltimore Ravens. The healthier team coming into this game is the Baltimore Ravens. 6.5. I think they can win this game by a touchdown. I do.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? This feels like a Pittsburgh line, at least to keep the game within the number. But is that going to be the case? The Steelers 5-1 against the spread as an underdog this year. Tom Vecchio, Prop Perspective next. Prop Perspective on this Thursday with TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid, live right here on the early line as we get you set for the start of what?
I was Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid. That was good.
It's what we call him now. Listen, Dion.
You're going to hit him with an older employer? Where was that going there? That was pretty good.
For sure. Well,
you never introduced me of SportsGrid.
Never. But hold on. This is crazy because, Tom, obviously we've had our issues and now we're doing it again, starting off a segment, welcoming you on and figuring out the flow at times because you never know when DRS is listening. I have been calling TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid for at least the last 2 months when he became an employee of this network, because when he used to be with the FanDuel Sportsbook and would come on the show, we would call him Tom Vecchio on behalf of FanDuel. But then he came to the right side. He's working for the Spiz Grizz, and thus the introduction. But, Tom, back me up here. That's been happening for about 2 months.
No way.
I would say longer than 2 months. Yeah, since late August when it became official.
This guy, man. Donnie doesn't know.
Maybe the first week. I don't know about this.
Yeah. All right. Listen, anyway, Vecchio, we're glad to have you here. I think with that long introduction, we dive right into the game on Thursday night. In Los Angeles, it's the Chargers and the Broncos. LA booked as a 2.5-point home favorite. Total stands at 41 and a hook. Vecchio, the odds makers expecting a tight, close, and competitive game with serious playoff implications between two teams that know each other well, but one that is low scoring with a total working its way down to 41 in a hook. What are the numbers telling you for this Thursday night?
They're telling me that we are in for, I want to say, a Thursday night game that we've seen over the past few years, which is a lot of punts, a lot of penalties, a lack of offense overall. Like you said, not just two divisional teams, but two divisional teams with extremely high playoff implications, as you mentioned. And, I'm on the Broncos at +3. I'm on under 42 as where it was earlier in the week. I would not be expecting a lot of offense tonight. I would expect inefficiency overall. I would expect some sacks, some turnovers. I think that's the kind of game that we're in for tonight. We're not in for a game that's going to be ending, 34-31, as we saw a couple weeks ago with the Lions and the Packers. We are in for a 20-17 kind of game tonight.
How about that? So right around the number, which again, we love points, we love action, we love touchdown passes, we love everything about overs. Justin Herbert and Bo Nix coming into this game. If we're looking at their props tonight from the quarterback numbers, 228.5 for Justin Herbert, 223.5 for Bo Nix. Touchdown passes, they each throw over 1.5. It is plus money. Is there a chance that the quarterbacks can get going, or is it just too much, Tom? Divisional game, Thursday night, short work week. Like, what are we dealing with tonight?
I think the quarterbacks get going just because both teams are horrible at running the ball. That's really what it comes down to for a lot of this. So I think we will see passing. Since J.K. Dobbins went down for the Chargers, they are absolutely terrible at running the ball. Gus Edwards has done nothing. Kamani Vidal has done nothing. Over the last 3 games, the Chargers, their pass play percentage was at 55%. It's now up to 65% over the last 3 games because they have to pass the ball. So I'm looking at Justin Herbert when it comes to over 20.5 completions. And we want to factor in that he's a little bit banged up. Like, he's constantly getting knocked down, the ankle, whatever it is. And because the Broncos are in the top 10 of the league when it comes to QB knockdowns per drop back, blitz percentage, QB hurries, you name it. They're in the top 10 of the league and everything. They also lead the league with 49 sacks. Herbert has to get the ball out quickly. Just like you guys said in the previous segment about Pat Mahomes, Herbert has to go over the completion. So the yards, I don't know what's going to happen with yards, but the completions have to be there for them.
It's a really good point, Vecchio. When you look at this Chargers team that last week was beat bad, Justin Herbert banged up again, and a Bolts offense that was predicated on establishing the run and running that darn pigskin with just 11 carries as a team for 32 total yards. So you shared your quarterback on one side for Justin Herbert. Let's look at the rookie in Bo Nix. It was a Monday night standalone primetime game just a couple of weeks ago, Vecchio. It was all Bo. It was all Courtland Sutton. And both of those predictions came through in a big way. How do you approach the Broncos offense tonight in Los Angeles?
Ultimately, I think Courtland Sutton is obviously the best option. Like I said, I'm not looking at Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime coming out of the backfield for the Broncos. Like, they have literally no consistency when it comes to running the ball. We're seeing games where Bo Nix, their quarterback, is leading the team in rushing. So I'm going to go to Bo Nix. Kind of the same thing with Herbert, but I just want to go to Bo Nix when it comes to over 33.5 attempts. And again, their pass play percentage has also gone up over the last 3 games. Again, when we're seeing zero running on both sides of the ball, they're going to have to take their shots downfield. Will the players get their carries at least at some point? Sure, but when you're averaging less than 3 yards per carry for a lot of these running backs, it has to turn to the passing game. And again, this is not like a game that they can just kind of go through the motions. Both teams need to win the ball. So ultimately, Nix and Herbert are their best options because they're not getting anything done on the ground. So can we look to Courtland Sutton? Sure. Can we look to Ladd McConkey? Sure. I think those are the best options. I think if you keep it really, really centered around those players, we're not going to Valet. We're not going to Troy Franklin. Should we get a little bit of Stone Smart because Will Dissly is probably going to be out again? Sure. But we want to keep it very centered tonight, not expecting a whole lot of offense or yards overall.
How do we navigate the running backs in this game, Tom? Because I think you, like many other people, are saying, you know what, you can get an absolute bargain, but at the same time, hey, I think Kamani Vidal gets an upgraded over 26.5, which is prop tonight, and then he gets 1 carry for 3 yards. Like, if there is one running back that you would look at, Tom, either for an anytime touchdown market or just to get some work tonight, who's that going to be from either one of these teams?
It might be Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he might be one of the options I trust the most, just because we saw him have a solid game. That Monday night game against the Browns. He was the option I would consider. I want to go to unders on basically everyone. I will say, just objectively, though, if you pick a player and you are right about them, like if you think that it's going to be Kamani Vidal tonight, he could have a huge game and then Gus Edwards does nothing. So if you are on the right side of the coin, you have a chance to be really right tonight. He scores, he goes over his prop, he goes over 26, 28, he hits 40, you could all throw up. You have a chance to be really right tonight. But there's also a chance that everyone outside of maybe one player falls on their under. So I'm going to go to Devontae Williams under 10.5 attempts. I want to go to Audric Estime under on rushing. I want to go to maybe Jaleel McLaughlin for an anytime touchdown, just based on the odds.
Vecchio, you've been on fire with the anytime TD props. Players to hit Pater throughout the entirety of this NFL season. Shortest number tonight, Ladd McConkey, plus 135. Javonte Williams, plus 150, 15 cents in front of his fellow Bronco in terms of Courtland Sutton. Again, you see what their receiving yards props are for some of those top targets. We're not expecting a ton of points. The over-under is 41 in a hook. If you had to look to one of the skill position players to hit Pater, who might get a couple of bucks?
So I always have a little bit of an issue going to top-tier targets after they've scored, and we saw Courtland Sutton and Ladd McConkey both score last week, so I have just like an internal issue about going back to the well after they have scored. I prefer to pick players that haven't scored in a while, as we saw Ladd McConkey hadn't scored in a number of games. That's why he scored last week. I don't want to say, maybe not that's why he scored, but again, high-usage player. So I don't mind Stone Smart. I really don't. Good number. He's seeing obviously an increase in usage, especially last week. We can go there. I don't mind going to Valet as well. I think that's where we want to be looking. I haven't dove into the kicker props yet, but I think that's where I might actually have to go, just because that's what we could be seeing tonight. So kickers, some defense, a random tight end scoring, as we've seen on traditional Thursday night games. I think that's what we're in for tonight.
Listen, we could see a lot of defensive props as well. Justin Herbert, not exactly fully mobile within the pocket, has been sacked at least 3 times in each of the last 4 games for the Bolts. Nick Bonito having a great year, minus 130 to record a sack tonight. Tom Vecchio, TV Tom of the SportsGrid Network. We appreciate your time on this Thursday as always.
Of course, I'll see you guys later tonight for the pregame show, halftime show, postgame show.
Listen, he's a one-man band nowadays, folks, except for the pregame aspect. But Tom Vecchio doing some great coverage later in the night to get you set for Week 16 and the start on this Thursday. Tom, as always, thank you. More on Thursday Night Football next. You got the prop perspective for the start of Week 16 and Thursday Night Football tonight in Los Angeles from SportsGrid's Tom Vecchio. Now it's time for Donnie Rightside thoughts of SportsGrid. Ben Stevens, also of SportsGrid, to break down Thursday Night Football. Did you even hear that? I think you did hear it.
I did.
You never know, though.
I heard.
Okay.
We're ready. I can't believe we have to talk about this game like it's a Super Bowl this morning. My goodness. How many segments we spend on this game. Talking about Jaleel McLaughlin. Talking about Jaleel McLaughlin who's not even going to play tonight. I mean, what is going on in this game? Come on. Let's go.
What? Okay, so if you could have crafted the rundown, which you could have a say if you really wanted one, if you could have crafted the rundown in pre-production, not at the very end of the show in your final segment, what would you have rather talked about a little bit more than this Thursday Night Football game?
I probably would have had like videos of the best of 2024 on the early line. So we had like complete segments just to like skip towards and, have a happy holiday season out here in the streets. See that? I'm overthinking all my feet.
No doubt. Early trip for Donnie Rightside to get the studio for NFL football in-game live game day. No Diego Pavia battling the courts to come back to Vanderbilt. No Michigan Tech, the D2 powerhouse, upsetting UW Green Bay yesterday in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, by the way, who would ever go to Green Bay to play basketball? I mean, let's get that. How about that for a topic for the next couple of minutes? Like, hey, where are you going to play ball? Wisconsin. Oh, awesome. No, Green Bay. Ooh, tough scene.
Or coach at Green Bay, especially if you wanted to talk into a microphone still.
And a radio show.
Hey, that's neither. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Neither here nor there. Also, I just got to make one final point because everybody bagged on Doug Gottlieb yesterday. I don't know if he listens to the SportsGrid Network. He once replied to a tweet of mine where I was critical of him. I just would like to say this. If you are going to still do the content, then do the content. Never would you get better ratings on your national radio show than in the immediate aftermath of a matinee matchup in which you lost to a D2 team as a 9.5-point home favorite. Like, if you're still going to uphold the radio show, then give the people what they want. There is no doubt that if Donnie Rightside went back to be the head football coach of his alma mater in Wayne, New Jersey, WP, William Patterson, but still hosted the early line or at least the money line, the Monday reaction show to Donnie Rightside coughing up a big game against Sacred Heart would be monumental ratings.
No, it would be. Like, he's leaning. Like, when Deion went to Colorado, he leaned into everything. That was a team that was terrible at one win. But he goes, you know what? Yeah. Everything on camera, everything out in the open. I'm going to get hate. I'm going to get love. But I think I can turn this around. And now you're seeing the fruits of the labor where he's got Heisman Trophy winners, #1 players going in the draft. He's making bowls now. He's getting players out of the portal. Like, it works both ways where the ratings would be great. Like, yes, you're not tuning in to hear Doug Gottlieb talk about, the Los Angeles Chargers. You want to hear him like, oh, man. My shooting guard, terrible. Anybody out there that wants to play shooting guard, hit me up in the portal. Like, that would be an amazing radio show at this point.
Listen, players have their podcasts. Doug, as a head coach, could just do the same. You don't need his hot take on a Thursday Night Football game where he probably thinks it's the Super Bowl tonight in SoFi. Yep. Meanwhile, we just burned 5 minutes of great conversation. That's what you do. Sports talk. By the way, Deion's hosting a talk show as well. So now that we don't have all that much time, DRS. Yeah, I haven't seen the actual show. Now that we don't have all that much time before we send you to the money line, 2.5-point spread in favor of the Chargers. Total at 41.5. You have shared you think this game is an under tonight. If you had to bet a side, which you will not, you would probably lean with the Broncos at least getting a few points. Close, competitive, low scoring. What would be your best bet of the night? That could include props as well.
Yeah, probably the under 41.5, which yesterday was 42.5, so moving in the right direction. I don't think we get a ton of points, but if we are just looking at one, like, again, it's hard to pick out the touchdown props because, once again, we're not in the 50s or 55 points. We're like, hey, we're getting 6, 7, 8 touchdowns possibly in this game. But it still is like secondary options. So I think Ladd McConkey has a good game. Cortland Sutton, yes. But the one, Quentin Johnston, over the past 2 weeks here, even though he has these struggles, over the last month, he's getting a lot of targets, and I believe he has 10 combined catches over the past 2 games. You look at that prop of 39.5. If you are the Denver Broncos and you come into this game, what are you saying to yourself? Well, we can't let Ladd McConkey beat us. So somebody else has to get targets. Quentin Johnston's going to get those targets. That's the guy I probably would look towards with a simple low number to get himself into the 40s. I think that's possible for him tonight. But again, not a lot to love in this game. But if we are looking at some secondary options, Quentin Johnston would be my guy.
Any safe bet parlays that would pay out around plus 125 that people are desiring or no?
Yeah, I don't. It's tough because, again, you are looking at some ultra low numbers. But if we're listening to people out there that continuously get in your DMs and tell you the over in San Francisco, LA is the best part of that game, you can't listen to those people out there. You gotta have the horse blinders on and say, here's what's going to win tonight, not what some other people think.
Yeah, listen, the only game this NFL season without a single touchdown by either team.
Come on. Like, how do you get that over?
I don't. Tough to bet the over in that football game. So Tom Vecchio, formerly a Cortland Sutton guy, not all that into Cortland Sutton tonight. But Donnie, I'm kind of into Bo Nix's numbers at 223.5, and thus if Bo even flirts with that, in my estimation, Cortland Sutton goes over what a minimal prop is by his standards at 62 and a hook. A number that prior to last week, where he still had 9 targets, by the way, in a game that Bo Nix threw for 130 total yards, he only ended up with 32 and a touchdown. Prior to last week, 6 consecutive games for Sutton of at least 70 receiving yards and at least 6 grabs. I like Cortland Sutton over the number tonight because although the Chargers are one of the best defenses in the NFL, they have not been as elite in the last 4 weeks or so.
Yeah, process of elimination, right? If you're going to lose a bet on Cortland Sutton because he got 11 targets, but then you get over 62.5 yards, you live with that here. The ones you can't live with are if you do go stone smart, who might have a good game, like, hey, over 30.5. Well, I had 1 catch for 6 yards. That was his only target. Those ones are the tough ones to swallow where you outsmart yourself. Get that here? I don't think you can outsmart yourself on McConkey and Sutton and guys up at the top of the charts.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also like Cortland Sutton to score a touchdown at plus 165. I'm not even sure where the anytime touchdown prop margins are on this evening. That I do not know. What I do know is DRS has to go to host the money line, and then you'll see him later tonight. NFL football in-game live game day. DRS, until we talk next week. More on the early line next.